Good morning and welcome to Town Square Sunday. This program highlights nonprofit groups and individuals that are making the South Coast a better place to live and work. I'm your host, Jim Phillips. New Bedford is very much looking forward to the unveiling of a bronze statue of Herman Melville, the author of Moby Dick, on Friday, August 14th, 11 o'clock at the Siemens Bethel in New Bedford. On hand will be the creator of the statue, internationally acclaimed sculptor Stefanie Rocknak. We are thankful to have Stefanie join us today to talk about the Melville statue and the inspiration behind her design. Stefanie, thanks for giving us some time today.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Steph, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
I am a self-taught sculptor, but I did study painting at Colby College. My dad was an art teacher, so I've sort of been, messing around with sculpture all of my life, clay sculpture and wood sculpture. Primarily, I went to Rome my junior year abroad at Colby and saw the sculpture there. I was there to study painting, but I saw the sculpture and became enamored with it, so I came home and started sculpting mostly in wood because that was what was available to me in Maine. And then later on, I started using clay so I could start entering some public art contests. And that's what the sculpture of Garland Poe, who's in Boston, I made him out of clay, and then he was cast in bronze. And the Melville sculpture was made out of clay, both the small model and the big model, and then that was scanned and cast in bronze.
Okay. You submitted your design in January of 2025. Where did the inspiration for that design come from? In other words, talk a little bit about that design, which really puts Melville inside a whale, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. Well, when I was selected as one of the 12 semifinalists in the spring of, I guess that was 2025, I reread Moby Dick. Well, actually, I listened to it while I was working on a sculpture, so that was the second time that I had I read it or listened to it. And
first time in high school?
To it, no, I read it in college in summer.
Okay.
I was an American Studies major, so I had studied some Melville, Bartleby the Scrivener, et cetera. But I hadn't read Moby Dick, so I read that in the summer.
For some of us, once was enough, but you did it twice, which is really...
I like Melville. I do. I like Melville. And, if you listen to it, it's a lot more like an adventure novel. I mean, if you have a good reader, I think it's a lot more engaging than actually reading it. So I would suggest that to people. If they can't read the book, try listening to it. So anyway, when I was selected as a semifinalist, I listened to it again, and I listened to references to New Bedford. And, of course, Chapter 9 stood out where, that's Father Mapple's sermon. Mm-hmm. So when I was selected as an actual finalist, 104, I knew I had to incorporate that somehow. So and I knew I also had to do a somewhat conservative figure because, it's a historical place, and I didn't want to do anything, really sort of out of place.
Sure.
In regards to the Bethel and the Whaling Museum. So the question was, what should I have him holding? And I was talking to a friend, and he said scrimshaw, and I said no, not scrimshaw. And I had this vision of giant whale bones. So I came home and sketched that out, and then I looked back through Moby Dick to see if that would work. And the first line of the hymn that Father Mapple leads people in singing in that chapter is the ribs and terrors in the whale arched over me a dismal gloom. And then he mentions again in chapter 51 the temple of the whalebone. So I knew that could work, that I could somehow get him inside some whale bones and also incorporate the story of Jonah, because I think Melville is, like Ishmael, a kind of Jonah. So that's where the idea came from.
Melville was 21 when he sailed out of New Bedford on the Acushnet. That trip really helped create, I think, his vision for the novel, Moby Dick. Your design, however, depicts an older man. Is there a reason for that?
Well, kind of a timeless man, because, he didn't write the novel until later. Mm-hmm. And I think that experience informed his whole life, and it framed his whole life. So that's why he's middle-aged. He's not really a young man, because this is sort of an older, more mature Melville, and he's rising up out of the ribs, and this is his enlightenment. So, yeah, I'm more of a timeless Melville, I guess would be the short answer to that.
The statue being located on the lawn outside the Siemens Bethel, where Melville attended a service before leaving on the whaling trip, did that location shape your artistic design in any way? I'm sure it did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, this, like the Poe sculpture in Boston, I don't think that this Melville sculpture could be picked up and placed anywhere. It's referencing that experience in the Bethel and that sermon that took place in the Bethel that, he fabricated it, obviously, Melville did. But it ties it directly to that. And the hymn that Maple has them sing in the congregation is inscribed around the edge of the base. So you couldn't pick this up and put it in Nantucket. It really wouldn't work. So, yeah, it's very site-specific to New Bedford and the Bethel.
What are the challenges of creating a bronze statue to withstand the elements of New England weather? Will it need constant care, or at least annual care?
It should have all bronze statues. It doesn't matter if they're in Florida or New England. Should have annual care because there's a wax that's placed over the bronze, and that helps prevent any vandalism. So if something were to be painted on it, it can be easily cleaned off, and it restores and maintains the patina. Because, as you know, with your whaler sculpture, that started to darken over the years, and they just redid it, and it changed it. So if you can do it once a year, that's terrific. It just maintains the quality and the color and protects the statue.
All right.
So people that make the conservators, they do that. That's what their job is.
Now, you've got the city of New Bedford. You have the Port Society, and I guess the Whaling Museum is involved in some respects. Is that right here?
Yeah, I don't know all the details about that.
Not your job, really.
Yeah, no, my job. I just made the sculpture and helped to install it. So yeah, I don't know all the details about that, but yes, I think that is correct.
You're listening to Town Square Sunday. I'm Jim Phillips. My guest is acclaimed artist and sculptor Stefanie Rocknak, a self-taught sculptor. She created the Herman Melville statue that will be unveiled at the Siemens Bethel Friday, August 14th at 11 a.m. Stefanie, when you create a piece of public art of historical figures, really a lot has to go into it, starting with a lot of research, right?
Yes, that's true. Well, a lot of research, obviously rereading Moby Dick and understanding the relationship of, Moby Dick to the Bethel and to New Bedford. And there's not a lot of pictures. There's some photographs of Melville, but not a lot. So those have to be studied and to approximate a likeness, to get the likeness as close as possible. And, an idea of what he might have been wearing that, is fitting for that particular sculpture.
All right. What's the most challenging aspect of this project, Stefanie, from concept to reality? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Probably the ribs. Initially, I had them a lot longer, but that really wasn't going to be practical as far as, engineering is concerned and weight is concerned. So I did shorten them. And they were challenging to make, to get them, curved correctly and to line up in the right places of the sculpture so the sculpture can support the weight of the ribs. So his hand is actually acting as a support for the middle rib, and his arm is supporting the top rib, and the waves are supporting the bottom rib. So that all had to be carefully planned out. It was harder than it looks. That was the hardest part, I would say. And by the way, there are 3 ribs because there was the chase for Moby Dick was 3 days, and also Jonah was inside the whale for 3 days and 3 nights.
All right. Is there a detail in this work that will stop people in their tracks, do you think, or is it just not that kind of public art? Public art is...
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Public art is really in the eye of the beholder. Some people might think a piece is wonderful, and others might say, well, that really doesn't say much. But I think this piece will say a lot. I'm just wondering if there's anything in this work that will stop people and say, whoa, that is kind of good.
I don't know. I can only hope. I think the ribs might be a little bit shocking to see those. That's a little unusual, so hopefully that will draw people in. I'm hoping the motion of the piece draws people in, and I like the particular detail in the beard. Some might think it's a little much, but it's it reflects the inner turmoil that he went through, Ishmael went through, and Jonah went through. So yeah, I can only hope that it grabs people.
All right. Now you said the motion in the piece. What do you mean by that?
There's kind of a swirling aspect to it,
Yes.
Going around and around the piece. So the wind is not really coming from one direction; it's going all the way around him, which is to give the suggestion that he's sort of rising up, from not like a tornado, but I'm trying to think of like I've lost the word for it. But anyway, yeah,
a storm. No question.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of our interaction, a lot of the public's interaction with art today is happening on the screens that we hold in front of our face. But do you think there is an endearing importance to public art, public monuments like this one?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the figure in particular is always engaging. I mean, some people might think, figurative art is out of date, but we relate to other human beings and body language. We do that all throughout our lives. That's our, most of our life. So I think that, encountering a figurative sculpture in person can be a very powerful experience.
I checked out your website, and you have created some remarkable pieces from Native Americans to Edgar Allan Poe and now Herman Melville, much, much more. Where does the Melville Project fit in your journey as an artist?
I think thank you, first of all. I think it's my most ambitious sculpture to date. It's certainly the biggest, and as far as the composition goes, well, Poe was difficult too because I had to incorporate the raven and all of that. But as far as the ribs are concerned, I think it is definitely my most ambitious project to date.
And it is, at least for the photos I've seen, certainly the initial design was... You're right. I mean, the ribs are what people will probably say, what's that? And, of course,
right.
The situation is that Melville, in this interpretation, is inside the whale. And
yes.
It really is quite a picture. I'm sure the finished product will be magnificent because you work so hard at it. How long did you stay in the studio working with, was it clay?
Yes. The 5.5 foot model, I took 6 months on to create that in my studio. And then they scanned it. They came up here and they scanned it. And then we worked a few months together, through the computer, adjusting the details to make sure it captured the clay correctly. And then they printed it. It's called PMMA. It's a plastic infused with wax. And then they cast it at 7 feet. So they enlarged it digitally to 7 feet. And then they cast it the traditional way. And then I went down for a number of visits to monitor the, putting together the cast pieces. And then I was down there for the whole patina process, which took about a week. All
right. I do want to mention that weekend of the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th, the New Bedford Whaling Museum is hosting a 4-day literary and cultural series of events that weekend about Melville and about New Bedford's defining role in shaping Moby Dick. It is bringing together nationally recognized writers, scholars, artists, filmmakers, and New Bedford area culture organizations to celebrate New Bedford's remarkable literary heritage and much more, I'm sure. And you can learn more about that at thewhalingmuseum.org, their website, for more information. Stephanie, final thoughts. Are you looking forward? I'm sure you're looking forward to the unveiling. And, again, public art, some people may like it, some people may not, but you certainly, I think, we've got Melville in the right place, which is in New Bedford, in the New Bedford Historic District. And I'm sure you feel that same way.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm honored. Melville is truly one of my literary heroes. So, yeah, this has been really exciting for me, and I am at least as excited for the unveiling. I can't wait to see him with the landscaping all finished, which they're completing right now. So as we speak. So, yeah, I can't wait.
My guest has been Stefanie Rocknak, an internationally acclaimed sculptor who will be in New Bedford on Friday, August 14th, 11 a.m., for the unveiling of the Herman Melville bronze statue on the front lawn of Siemens Bethel. Stefanie is a self-taught sculptor, which is amazing, but she has done all types of work with sculpting and also with wood and all of that. And I think we're all looking forward to this unveiling coming up on the 14th. Stefanie, thanks for your time, and the best of luck in the future. I mean, I think it's...
Thank you.
Hopefully we can see more of your work. Give me your website address, if you would, so people might want to check out some other things.
It's www.steffrocknak, that's STEFFROCKNAK.net.
Okay, very good. Steph, thank you very much. Thanks again for your time, and hopefully there'll be a big turnout on the 14th, and they can see and appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Okay. Still to come here on Town Square Sunday, Scalapalooza. Scalapalooza at the New Bedford Fishing Heritage Center was a big hit last year. It returns this coming Thursday, the 13th. More when Town Square Sunday continues.